Picture this. It's 11 p.m. Your phone is sitting right next to you on the nightstand, and it's just buzzing.
Oh yeah, constantly going off.
Right. You've got like 3 different group chats blowing up. You just gained 20 new followers today, and in the last hour alone, you've probably scrolled past hundreds of faces.
Hundreds of faces, life updates, milestones, all of it.
Exactly. Yet as you lie there, staring up at the ceiling in the dark, you realize something terrifying. Not a single one of those people actually knows who you are or, how you really feel.
Which is such a universal feeling right now.
It really is. Welcome to The Deep Dive. Today is Saturday, May 23rd, 2026, and we are jumping into this fascinating, massive collection of notes and structural analysis centered around the architecture of modern loneliness.
That's a great collection.
Yeah, the mission for today is to figure out why, in an era of just extreme hyperspeed digital connection, so many of you listening still feel completely and utterly isolated. And more importantly, how to actually break that cycle.
Because it is arguably the defining paradox of the modern human condition. I mean, we've constructed this massive, invisible infrastructure of connection that spans the whole globe.
Right, like you can beam your face to another continent in milliseconds.
Exactly, yet the psychological, visceral experience of isolation is peaking. It's climbing in a way that just completely confounds traditional sociological models.
Well, historically, loneliness was incredibly straightforward, right?
Oh, absolutely.
For most of human history, if you were lonely, it literally meant you were physically isolated. You were geographically separated from the tribe or out in the wilderness or just sitting in an empty room.
You couldn't survive if you were too isolated.
Right. But this modern loneliness, it's entirely different. It's insidious because it happens in a crowded room. It's that feeling of absolute emptiness despite constant digital interaction. So, okay, let's unpack this. How do we even begin to untangle the illusion of being connected from the biological reality, of actually feeling seen?
We really have to start by looking at the mechanisms of our daily interactions.
Yeah.
We have to recognize the surface-level metrics that we've sort of collectively agreed to mistake for connection.
Right, like treating data as intimacy.
Exactly. The source material draws a very sharp line between what it categorizes as signals and actual human intimacy. A signal is, well, it's a like on a post.
Or a rapid-fire reply, yeah.
Right, a view on your story, a new subscriber. But those are purely data points. Likes are not intimacy. Replies are not understanding. And followers, no matter how many you have, are definitely not friendship.
It's like we've completely gamified human empathy.
Yes. Gamified is the perfect word for it.
Because you can have someone tap through your stories every single day, right? Passively watching every curated, 15-second snippet of your existence. And they still have absolutely no idea if your life is actually falling apart off screen.
They're just consuming you as content.
Exactly. It makes me think about the mechanics of nutrition. Like, treating likes and replies as human connection is like trying to survive by eating only cotton candy.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right, because when you eat cotton candy, your brain registers the sugar. It spikes your insulin, giving you this incredibly fast rush of energy. But because there are no proteins, no fats, no real nutrients in that sugar, your body is still crying out for sustenance.
You're functionally starving.
Yes. You're starving while your blood sugar is through the roof, and that is what a notification is. You can eat digital cotton candy all day and still die of emotional malnutrition.
What's fascinating here is how that specific type of malnutrition completely alters human behavior. Because you aren't getting the emotional nutrients you actually need to feel secure.
It's things like physical presence, right?
Yeah, prolonged eye contact, the nuance of a voice, emotional safety. Because you lack those, you start trying to optimize the signals instead.
Because the sugar rush is all you have.
Exactly. You just want more of it. So people stop simply living their lives and they begin to curate them. They edit the sadness out, they filter their reality, and essentially perform a version of happiness for an audience. There's a quote in the notes that hits like a freight train, honestly.
Oh, I know the one.
Yeah, it says, social media turned people into brands.
Turn people into brands. Man, that is such a heavy, unsettling reality.
It really is.
And the author includes this incredibly poignant fictional story to illustrate exactly what happens to the psyche when you operate as a brand instead of a person.
The story about the boy with the funny reels.
Yeah, that one. It details this young boy who uploads these high-energy, hilarious reels every single day. He gets millions of views. Millions of people are laughing, dropping fire emojis, sharing his face around.
He completely convinces everyone in his orbit that he's thriving.
Even his own family. But the reality behind that ring light is entirely different. Every night, after the camera clicks off, the silence is just deafening.
He's eating dinner alone in the dark.
Yeah, he sleeps late to avoid the day. He overthinks every perceived flaw. He feels entirely invisible despite being perceived by millions of eyeballs. And the absolute kicker of this story, the part that really just gets under your skin, is that one day, he just stops uploading. He disappears from the internet entirely.
And nobody notices.
Nobody notices for weeks.
Because those millions of people didn't actually know him. They knew the product. They consumed his personality the exact same way they consume a sitcom.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, when a TV show goes off the air, you might miss the entertainment value, but you don't track down the actors to make sure their mental health is stable. You just find a new show.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little bit before we move on.
Sure, go for it.
Because we constantly frame the before times, before smartphones and constant internet as this golden era of deep bonds and true community. But wasn't it also incredibly isolating if you simply didn't fit into your local town?
That's a really valid point.
Right. I mean, hasn't the internet actually saved millions of people by allowing them to find their highly specific niche communities that they never would have found locally? We were promised instant communication would give us more time for the people we care about. Did it actually just destroy our emotional patience? Are we treating people like swipeable content?
That is a very fair critique, and the sources don't deny the connective power of the early internet. Finding your specific tribe online is a profound benefit. But the architecture of the platforms themselves evolved.
They changed the game.
Exactly. We moved from forums and chronological community boards to algorithmically driven infinite feeds. We didn't suddenly decide to prefer shallow connections over deep ones. This was an active rewiring of our brains by the tech industry.
So it's not the fact that we're talking to people online, it's the way the system forces us to do it.
Precisely. Let's look at the biology of it. The sources point directly to what they call dopamine culture. The apps on your phone are not just neutral tools.
Right. They're designed by behavioral psychologists.
Yes, explicitly designed to trigger dopamine release and create a cycle of variable reward addiction. But here's the critical mechanism. Dopamine is a foraging chemical.
Wait, what does that mean, a foraging chemical?
It's a chemical of anticipation, of seeking out the next thing. Every ping, every red notification badge triggers dopamine. It creates a spike of excitement. But excitement is not fulfillment.
Okay.
Deep human connection, the feeling of being truly known and safe, relies on entirely different neurochemicals, primarily oxytocin and serotonin.
Oh, that makes so much sense. We are constantly triggering the brain's keep searching chemical, but we are completely starving the brain's you are safe, you belong chemicals. We've conflated excitement with fulfillment.
And that biological mismatch leads right into the problem of the infinite scroll. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the infinite scroll seems to fundamentally break down our capacity to even maintain those deep bonds.
Because your brain is just exhausted.
Yes. Think about what's happening to your brain when you're endlessly swiping. It never rests. You are in a constant, hyper-vigilant state of consumption.
Yeah, like in a 30-minute window, you might process a heartbreaking global tragedy, right? Immediately followed by someone's mathematically perfected vacation photos, then a political rant, then staggering career success stories.
The cognitive load of that is staggering. I mean, the human brain evolved to track the social dynamics of maybe 50 to 150 people in a local tribe.
Right, Dunbar's number.
Exactly. It was not designed to process the life updates, microdramas, tragedies, and extreme successes of 500 disparate acquaintances while sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
That forces your nervous system into a state of perpetual processing without any refractory period.
Which naturally results in absolute emotional exhaustion. I mean, you're constantly comparing your own messy, unedited reality to everyone else's highlight reel. It just breeds this deep insecurity.
It absolutely does.
But if our brains are this overwhelmed, if the infinite scroll is exhausting us to our core, how does the mind try to protect itself? Does it just force us to put up walls?
That is exactly what happens. The exhaustion and the constant comparison breed an intense, paralyzing fear of judgment. You look around the digital landscape and see nothing but curated perfection and, swift public takedowns.
Cancel culture, public shaming.
Right. So as a defense mechanism, people begin to hide their true emotions behind digital masks. People are terrified of looking weak or appearing too emotional or simply of being ignored.
So instead of posting the truth, they post sarcastic jokes.
Yes, jokes, highly curated aesthetics, professional achievements, anything but the raw truth.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because of these masks, we are essentially acting as our own PR managers.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Right. We are constantly managing a crisis of image. But to build on our earlier idea, it's like being an actor who can never ever step off the stage. If you break character, it feels like a literal threat to your social survival.
The stakes feel incredibly high.
But the tragic irony is that if someone falls in love with your PR manager, or if someone praises the character you're playing, they haven't actually connected with you.
And that leads to profound emotional isolation. You build this impenetrable wall of aesthetic perfection or humor, and then you sit behind it thinking, nobody would understand me anyway.
Yeah.
But of course, they don't understand you. You haven't given them the necessary gate to understand you. You haven't shown them who you actually are.
Now, it is worth noting how the author breaks this specific phenomenon down along gender lines. And just to be completely clear to the listener, we're simply reporting the arguments laid out in the author's sociological notes here. We're not taking a stance.
Right, just analyzing the text.
Exactly. But they argue that these pressures manifest in different but equally damaging forms depending on gender. For men, the author notes that society has long conditioned them to suppress emotion.
The whole be strong, don't cry messaging.
Right, man up. And the source argues that when that offline conditioning collides with the hyper-judgmental online world, it results in profound internal loneliness and emotional numbness. Men often feel they have absolutely no safe digital space to express vulnerability without losing status.
And for women, the sources outline an intense, specific pressure regarding digital validation and appearance. They argue that women are facing extreme, digitally altered beauty standards and find themselves caught in these algorithmic validation loops.
Constantly chasing likes based on appearance.
Exactly. The pressure to maintain a flawless physical and lifestyle appearance creates a different kind of mask. It's one of visual and social perfection. But the physiological result is exactly the same, a total disconnection from the true, unedited self.
Right. Whether the mask is stoicism or visual perfection, the core human need for acceptance is just being starved. The text includes a very quiet, powerful line. Sometimes people don't want attention. They just want someone to genuinely care. Such a crucial distinction. There is a massive gulf between attention and care. Knowing someone's username, memorizing their profile photos, and tracking their daily check-ins does not mean you know them.
No, not all.
You don't know their latent fears, you don't know their unfulfilled dreams, or what keeps them awake at 2 in the morning. And when you spend all your waking hours maintaining that ideal version of yourself for the public eye, eventually cognitive dissonance sets in.
You feel entirely disconnected from your own identity.
Precisely.
Which perfectly explains why you can feel so lonely in a crowd. The source specifically points out how common this is in dense environments, right? Like loneliness on a bustling college campus, or in a packed open-plan workplace, or living in a massive city.
You can be physically surrounded by thousands of human bodies.
And digitally connected to thousands more.
And yet feel entirely emotionally abandoned. This is exacerbated by the fact that relationships themselves have been framed as disposable.
Because of the swiping mechanics. Exactly. The architecture of these platforms creates an illusion of endless options. If a conversation gets slightly difficult or someone shows a flaw, you can just swipe to the next person.
Ghosting has never been easier.
Right. But when options seem infinite, commitment, whether romantic or platonic, becomes incredibly difficult. It generates a persistent fear of missing out. Paradoxically, having endless options creates a severe scarcity of depth.
Because you're constantly looking for the next upgrade rather than investing the friction and effort required to know the person sitting right in front of you.
You're always looking past them.
Okay, so we've mapped out the mechanics of the trap. We understand how the system starves us by demanding these curated PR performances and how it exhausts our dopamine receptors with infinite options.
It's a bleak picture.
It is, but the mission of this deep dive isn't just to diagnose the architecture of the problem, it's to figure out the practical rebellion against it. How do you actually step off the stage? How do you step outside this digital noise and rebuild genuine human intimacy?
The solutions outlined in the source material are wonderfully straightforward in theory, though they require significant intentional effort in practice. The very first step is to initiate real conversations.
Define real.
The sources mean stepping away from trading memes back and forth or leaving fire emojis on a story. It means actually looking at someone or calling them so they can hear the tone of your voice and asking, How are you really feeling?
And actually waiting for the answer.
Exactly. Having the emotional patience to wait for the real answer.
But, like, let's be real for a second. It sounds simple to say, just put the phone down and have a real talk. But anyone listening knows that putting the phone down can sometimes feel like severing a limb.
Oh, the withdrawal is physical.
Totally. Being vulnerable is terrifying. It is so much easier and feels so much safer to send a funny TikTok than to look at a friend and admit, hey, I am having a really hard day. My anxiety is through the roof and I feel like I'm failing.
It is terrifying. Your brain perceives that vulnerability as a social risk, a potential threat to your standing. But that terror, that deep discomfort in the pit of your stomach, that is the unavoidable price of entry for intimacy.
Wow, the price of entry.
Yeah. If you never take the risk of lowering the mask, the love and intimacy you receive will always be directed at the mask, not at you. You will never feel secure because you'll always know they're loving a character.
That is profound.
This raises an important question for you, the listener, to reflect on. Who in your life can you truly be entirely offline, messy, and unfiltered with?
Just one person is sometimes all it takes. The sources also heavily emphasize the biological necessity of spending time completely offline.
Detoxing the brain, essentially.
Yeah, reconnecting with the physical world, whether that's walking in nature, sitting with family, listening to an entire album without looking at a screen, or simply just sitting in silence. Our human nervous systems were just not built for non-stop digital stimulation.
We actually need silence to process our own thoughts and regulate our emotions. You have to cultivate the ability to be alone with yourself without panicking and reaching for the infinite scroll.
Which is a muscle most of us have let atrophy.
Absolutely. And perhaps the most vital, actionable takeaway regarding reclaiming connection is that intimacy does not require scale. You don't need thousands of followers.
You don't need hundreds of contacts in your phone.
Right. To break the architecture of modern loneliness, you only need to build one genuine, high-friction, high-trust connection.
So what does this all mean? When we aggregate all these sociological notes, the psychological insights, the neuroscience of dopamine versus oxytocin, what is the core message we're taking away today?
The core message is a fundamental reframing of the problem. The text suggests that maybe the problem isn't that you are weak or antisocial or broken.
You're just tired.
Exactly. The reality is that you are simply emotionally exhausted by a system that demands constant performance.
Yes. There's a line from the notes that is going to stick with me long after we wrap up today. It says, "We built a world where everyone can speak, but very few people truly feel heard."
It's tragic, really.
We've optimized our entire society for volume and speed, completely sacrificing depth.
And to you, the listener, directly, you do not need to impress everyone. You don't need to maintain a mathematically perfect digital aesthetic.
It's exhausting.
It is, and the desperate pursuit of that digital perfection is the exact mechanism that is driving your isolation.
Sometimes one real connection can save a human being. Just one person who knows the real, unedited, un-PR managed version of you.
That's all it takes.
If this conversation resonated with you, if it sparked something while you were listening today, share it with someone who might need to hear it tonight. Break the ice, be a little vulnerable, take care of yourself, and take care of each other.
I'd like to leave you with one final, lingering thought to mull over as you step away from this deep dive and back into your day.
Lay it on us.
We've established that our brains were not designed for this nonstop digital stimulation, and that this biological mismatch is causing profound emotional exhaustion. But evolutionary biology is a slow, relentless process that takes tens of thousands of years.
Right.
What will happen to the human emotional spectrum in the coming generations? As we continue to saturate our lives with screens, will the visceral pain of loneliness eventually be biologically adapted out of us? Will we create a future human species that is perfectly content in complete digital isolation?
Wow.
Or will our innate primal need for physical, messy, real connection force a massive societal rejection of the internet long before our biology has a chance to change? Until next time, consider what kind of future your daily habits are building.